Welcome to Season 3 of the Empowering Women podcast, a production of the Empowering Women in Industry organization. Together, we will hear from ambitious and inspiring career women as they share their stories of success and overcoming career challenges. I'm Charlie Matthews, founder of Empowering Women, and I am proud to introduce our host, Shannon Bumgarner from Femspired.
So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empowering Women in Industry podcast. I am super excited to be here with you again in I think this episode number 7. Really, time flies. I've had so much fun this year, and I'm really excited. So when you hear this episode, it will be May. Really super hard for me to believe that it's already May of 2021. And during this episode, we're going to really just interview one of our young talents. And I'm so excited for you to meet Christina. And we're really going to focus our conversation around innovation in honor of National Inventors Month. And Christina, she is a high school junior who, believe this or not, is a founder and vice president of GirlsCodeIt. GirlsCodeIt is a nonprofit initiative run by passionate young women who strive to combat gender and education inequality in STEM. And so, Christina, you and I haven't met before, but I can tell you we're already sisters. She's passionate about gender equality. So am I. So I love you already. And the effects of gender roles on society. Christina is pursuing her biomedical engineering degree. Okay, maybe I feel a little dumb at the moment, Christina, and continuing her work in GirlsCodeIt in the future. So welcome, Christina, to the podcast. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and just talk to you about GirlsCodeIt and our mission and, how we started and everything.
Yeah, I'm just so excited for you and biomedical engineering. So, Christina, I'm not sure if you know this, but I have my chemical engineering degree. So, you are about to go on quite a ride of a journey. I think you're going to love it. So, speaking of taking a journey, I always love to start this podcast out with the question of tell me your story. I think we just learned so much about our guest. They really inspire us. So, let's start with your own personal STEM story. How did you find yourself into GirlsCodeIt and into the space and interest in biomedical engineering?
Okay, so getting into the biomedical engineering first, because that was a little bit earlier. During the summer between 8th grade to freshman year in high school, I actually went to a summer program at my local college. So I actually lived in the college dorms for 2 weeks, and I took a bio course. It was really fun, and I still remember it really fondly. If I could relive those days, I think I would do it in a heartbeat. But it was a program run by Johns Hopkins, and I kind of fell in love with biology when I took that course. It was something that I was really interested in, like the cells. We had amazing resources like the labs where we could perform experiments like dissecting and then, osmosis, all of those things. I just thought it was so interesting, and that's why I began looking more into biology and biomedical engineering, which I actually was interested in from another project in the same summer course where we did a project presentation on bioethics. I thought it was, just the ethics behind biology. Normally, I wouldn't really think about it, but it was eye-opening for me.
Yeah, you had me at that word, Christine. I was like, what in the world is bioethics? So you're saying that's how we apply our ethical principles or morals to biology, and how do those two worlds intersect?
Yes.
Is that right?
So, obviously,
Really
we wouldn't
interesting,
want
huh?
something like a Frankenstein scenario. We want to follow some moral compasses when
Right.
working in biology and those kinds of things.
Okay.
And
So you went to that camp, you fell in love with that. Anything else about your story that's really interesting or you think our audience will connect with?
So for the coding aspect, part of GirlsCodeIt, coding, the coding aspect, I actually got into that field accidentally. So it was also in high school between freshman and sophomore year where my friends and I were talking about what kind of AP classes we're going to take next year. And at our school, we have 3 different AP computer science classes, the easiest one being AP computer science principles. And we were going to sign up for that one since it was one of the more easy ones, except I accidentally signed up for the harder one, which is AP computer science A. And then I decided to stick it
Uh-oh.
out for the entire school year. And I learned a lot and met a lot of new friends. And that's actually part of the reason why I wanted to start Girls Code It, is because of the experiences I had in that class. And the friend that I was talking to before is actually also one of the founders of Girls Code It. So we started the organization together.
Okay. And what experience in that class really spoke to you? Do you have one that really sticks out in your mind?
Yeah. So I first thing I noticed was that there were a lot more guys in the class than there were girls. So that stuck out to me on the
Mm,
first day. But there was one experience I had in the class where we were doing a lab, like a project for coding, and then I was having a tough time. As you know, in coding, it's usually a little difficult sometimes. But I was there struggling a bit, and
right.
then a guy came up and tried to explain to me how to do it, which is very helpful, but he wouldn't take like me saying, "Oh no, it's fine. I can do it myself." He wouldn't take that as an answer, and he kept trying to explain what to do and not really leaving room for me to either ask questions or for me to say anything. And as I tried to move away from him, he started moving closer towards me, and it felt really uncomfortable in that environment,
Mm.
and it felt like I couldn't really say anything and that he would not listen to me. So that's an experience that really stuck out to me in that class.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, Christina, because no matter where you are, either in high school or a college or in your career like myself, I think women struggle, particularly in male dominated fields, with having their
Hmm.
voice heard, and having the space to have that voice. And he probably unintentionally was not allowing you to have your voice heard and be spoke out. And I just love that you're turning that into a positive story, and you're working with your friend to start Girls Code It. Um, so speaking of that, I mentioned out on the outset that this podcast, we're really honoring National Inventors Month. And by the way, audience, I had no idea until I looked that up that May was National Inventors Month. But they talk about celebrating human ingenuity. And when you reached out to our team for the Girls Code It team, I was like, wow, this is so inventive, pardon me, and much needed. So tell our audience about you and your friend, how you started that, and obviously feel free to mention her name if she's comfortable with that, and how this organization came to be in its mission, because it's just so fun, and I love what you're doing, especially earlier in your career and in your
Oh
journey.
yeah, of course. So my friend, her name is Jennifer. She is the president of Girls Code It. And I just call her Jen, so I'll probably be referring to her as Jen when I mention
Okay. Nice to meet you, Jen. I know you're
her.
listening to this somewhere.
Yeah, so we started in the beginning of quarantine where we had a lot of free time, and we saw an opportunity to start something that could help our community, especially since more people would be at home. They'd have more access to their computers and to the digital world. So we thought it was a great time to start an organization like Girls Code It. And we had a small team of 5 in the beginning. We all had experience in a STEM field. We all saw a gender gap in our classrooms or in competitions, things like that. And we just started off slow and then began building more and more as we got more of an audience, had more members sign up, and then we just had our team build. We were able to have more courses, and that's just how we started growing a little bit more. And we wanted to provide intro to coding lessons and garner interest in the field of coding itself. And we also wanted to build a collaborative community for girls because we know that in a male dominated
Mm.
environment, we want a safe space where girls can come together and talk with girls.
Yeah, I love that you're focused on what I call the hard side and the soft side. So the hard side of the technical skills and the coding acumen at an early age, but then also making sure that you're creating that
Hmm.
community. Because I know it sounds like that's what spoke to you with Jen and the rest of your team. And I know that's what's spoken to me in my career and my community and my tribe. I call them the STEM squad. So you might like that. My STEM squad has gotten me through a lot of tough times. Um, so, it sounds like this is relatively new for you guys. So, probably like a year
Hmm.
young. That's
Yeah.
what it sounds like. Um, so, your mission, it sounds like, is to really connect girls and give them that early exposure to coding. So, what ways or what types of courses and services are you offering? What does that look like and for you today?
Okay, so for the our mission also applies to like education who people who were not very privileged
Oh,
in
okay.
education. So we don't have a requirement that it's
Oh,
just for girls, but we do want to focus on empowering girls. But for those who maybe didn't
okay.
have as many privileges or resources for coding, we offer our intro to coding courses. So it's like for beginners, learning languages like Java, Python, web development languages like HTML, um, and all of those kinds of languages that are easy for beginners to pick up and are useful for different languages in the future. They are languages that help build on the fundamentals of coding, which will be important to have like once you go into a coding career and have to use a different language. We also offer free tutoring for anyone who might be taking a coding class or who just wants to learn more about a certain topic. We have panels pretty often where we have a woman in STEM come and talk about her experiences in the field and her journey throughout her
Mm.
education and her achievements. And we just have those for like an
Oh, wow. Okay.
inspirational character where people can watch and ask questions. We have workshops
Yep. Okay.
um, where we teach people how to code things like Discord bots or an app development workshop. And at the moment, we're partnering with some Girl Scout troops, and we have partnered in the past with Technovation, which was a coding competition where girls competed with while coding with languages like Swift, Java, and Thinkable, and things like that. So we those are some of the courses and things services we offer.
Okay. And that I love, I think I missed that on your website, the link to the underprivileged community. Tell me what led you and Jen and the team to really want to try to focus at least part of your resources on that community. How did that speak to you, or how did that come about?
So while we were working on what our mission was going to be, we wanted to really get a clear view of what we wanted Girls Coded to do. We realized that if we are trying to spread coding to girls, we want to include all girls and just like anyone we can. So that includes girls who may not have the resources for coding, those who don't have computers, um, a class in school. It makes it a lot harder for people to get into coding when they don't have these things. And I
Mm,
actually,
yeah, good point.
sorry, I actually recently read
No, go
an
ahead.
article about coding and how we kind of society kind of markets it as a superpower or like something that you have the ability to do and that you can do it or like anyone can do it, anyone can unlock this ability, but it's really a lot more deep than what they portray because not only do you have to
Mm,
have the ability to code, you also need the facilities. If you don't have a computer, you can only write code on paper, and writing code on paper
right.
is kind of like swimming in the desert. It's really
Yeah. It doesn't really work if
yeah.
you can't at least test and
Mhm.
play, right? Yep.
So we wanted to make
Yep.
sure.
I never thought about that. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it's definitely something that we thought about for a while. Just if you want to learn how to code, we want to make sure that everyone has the facilities, the resources, and the education. So we also highly emphasize the education gap when it comes to coding.
Mm. Have you had a chance to work with any of those underprivileged community? Have you had girls either individually or in mass take you up on that?
At the moment, we do have our free tutoring session, so we have had some
Okay.
girls reach out to us for tutoring, and then we would have our volunteers and our education team, which they're all super awesome, by the way. We would have them,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
I bet.
talk to some girls and just provide free lessons. We also have our free intro to coding workshops for those who did have the facilities at the time. And we're planning on in the future
Okay.
starting fundraisers and raising money to purchase some resources or like coding resources like Chromebooks, um, tablets, anything we can for schools
Right.
that don't have a coding class. So we were looking
Okay.
into doing something like that in the future.
Okay. So if I walk this journey, Christina, with you, you and Jen and others really sort of sat around, maybe virtually
Mhm.
at the time, and said, we really see this gap. I love the fact that you and the team were really focused on your mission. So you wanted to be really super clear and crisp about what you were trying to do. And it sounds like you've built a lot of avenues, and forgive me, I won't remember them all, but you have the free courses, you have tutoring, it sounds like you also have a little bit of inspiration
Mhm.
mixed in there. So you had your mission. How did you guys figure out where to start? Because I think that's where people struggle. And going back to the inventor focus, you have this great idea, and honestly, you see the elephant in front of you, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like where do I start?" So I think the great start was
Mhm.
your mission, right? Then how did you and the team figure out? Okay, these are the things we're going to start with. What was that process like for you and your fellow
So
founders?
the fundamentals that we wanted first was a website. So like our little area where people could see what we're doing, sign up for lessons, look to see if we have any YouTube videos, which we post panel recordings, lesson recordings. So we
Okay.
wanted the first thing for us to do is to build a website. And I would say,
Right. And for you coders, that was probably easy. For people like me, that's hard.
yeah, it was the most
Yeah.
important step, I think. I'd say Girls Code It
Okay.
didn't formally launch until we got our website up and running. That was the most
Okay.
important step for us. So once we had the website, we were able to think of things like, okay, so we have a website, we have an avenue for people to sign up for things. And then we thought, what could we make people sign up for? And then we started thinking, well, digital meetings, obviously, but if we wanted to teach people coding, we would have to start with coding lessons. So then we started with our coding lessons and then we expanded them to separate coding languages like Scratch and Java. So
Okay.
yeah, we had the
Okay.
intro lessons first, and then as we expanded more as a team, we had people with different skills that were able to host things like workshops, panels. So we'd have people find panelists, and then we'd film our panels with them and ask them questions and have them speak about their experiences. So it just started off as kind of a stretch goal. We had what we wanted in mind and we had to start building towards it. And our stretch goal was to be able to teach um, girls or just anyone how to code. So then we started with small lessons.
Yeah, but I love what you're saying. So you got that mission, you were really clear about that. Then you started small, and I think that's so powerful that our audience should take away from today, which is if you've got that big lofty goal, just start
Hmm.
somewhere, right? Start small and it will grow from there. So it sounds like you attracted other people to your community. I'm curious on so people somehow felt energy from you and your team or something. Can you talk about how you attracted more people to come help and volunteer and be part of your
Yeah, of course.
organization?
Since we're all high school students at the time, we had our friends who are also in high school. And our
Right?
first volunteers were actually my friends I made in my computer science class back in sophomore year. So
It's your network, by
Yeah.
the way. So our people for when for those of us in our career, it's your network. But I love it. So you're starting to network at an early age. That is
Yeah.
fabulous.
At the time, I really didn't think it was networking, but now looking back, yeah, that's definitely like an early scenario where I would be using my own network, which was to reach out to some of my
Yep.
friends that I knew were able to, teach others because let's be honest, they kind of taught me a lot of the things that I knew in the class.
Right. Yeah, but I tell you, Christina, my own things that I'm doing both in my day job and outside of it, I reach out to those people who've taught
Mhm.
me, right? And I get them to either help me specifically or help me coach others. So I think that's a good lesson that you learned really early on in your journey. So that's fabulous. So you reached out to those people in your class. Have there been people that have found you? Has that network expanded
Oh yeah,
organically in a
for
different way?
sure. So we started with our school, and then we started getting more people from our state, and then we started expanding more and more once we began marketing. So we'd create posters for like, hey, help us volunteer. You'll receive volunteering hours, teach people how to code, plan lessons, and all of that. And once we started putting that on places like our Instagram, we got a lot more applicants from places around the world like India, um,
Oh, wow.
Taiwan, Canada, which is pretty close to us, like in America.
Sure. Because you're based in
Hmm.
California, correct?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And
So that's just crazy. So in a year or so, you've literally in some ways gone global
yeah,
with some of
we
your
definitely have a
volunteers.
lot of different people from around the world not only becoming volunteers but also signing up for members and beginning new chapters as well. It's just been a really great growth that I've seen in the past year for us.
Yeah, that's just really inspiring. I know it's going to be inspiring for our audience that you've really been able, you and the team, to lift something up in a year that's going to have profound impact on the lives of many of our future leaders. So think about where you've been. So I'm going to go into where do you think you're going? So where do you think is next for the Girls Code It team? Any new offerings that you're considering or expansion plans? It sounds like you might be looking
Oh
at
yeah.
fundraising, which is I'm really interested to hear about, both in terms of how folks, our audience, can support you, as well as what areas you're considering to fundraise and what would that support.
Yeah, of course. So, as you just said, we have our fundraisers planned in the future, and we do have an area on our website where people can donate. And then the donations will be used for either making our services better, or once we have our fundraisers, the donations will be put into that. Um, we will be having to brainstorm some locations that we want to start off with because we don't want to have the fundraisers and like money and then not have a place to really use it. So we do have to do some research on where we
Right.
want to start first, or if there's any places we can donate to ourselves. We also have some future plans for hackathons in the summertime once our team
Okay.
and everyone else is out of school. I think we'll have a lot more time to plan them and
Sure.
to have people join and participate. Since oh,
So that sounds like so much fun. So for those of us that don't live in this world, what is a
so a
hackathon?
hackathon is kind of like a area, like not area, sorry, a get together of people who just come and code, and it's a little bit like competition where we have something like, oh, code a robot to do this, and then we have a bunch of groups of people trying to code for that robot to perform that task. Not necessarily, our hackathon might not have a robot, obviously, but it's something like that where a group of people come
Right.
together and they code
Right.
for a task and try to complete it together.
Hmm. So that really, it gets really back to your mission in terms of teaching coding, and then on top of it, building that community and that collaboration on
Hmm.
top of it. I love it. Yep. So the fundraising, and it sounds like you're going to use that in your potentially in your offerings and expanding those offerings, as well as just being able to donate like the Chromebook or whatever to different organizations to help them have the tools that they need to learn coding. So that's just super exciting. Anything else coming you want to highlight
Oh
for
yeah,
our
so
audience?
we are starting to have more partnerships with some Girl Scout troops where we're helping them get their coding basics badges or some other coding related badges like the game development badge and the app development badge. We also, since we started in quarantine and have been really growing throughout quarantine, we haven't had any physical events yet because we're all stuck at home and talking to each other on the
Sure.
computer. We do want to try to see if we can have any physical events locally. Like a physical hackathon would be the best case scenario, which only always depends on, the current going-ons in the world. But
Sure.
yeah, we are looking into physical events,
Okay.
hackathons, and partnerships with some Girl Scout troops.
Oh wow. So I tell you what, I'm just so impressed, Christina. So you guys in a year have gotten your mission, got some classes up, you're tutoring people, and you're already on a partnership journey. So we really should, hopefully you and the team, once you get out of school for the year, will take a little bit of time to celebrate before you go into your hackathon planning, because you've accomplished quite a bit. So you really led me in a little bit to our next into my next question. We have a huge audience for this podcast, a lot of diverse folks in this audience. So, how can we help you? So, how can we become part of your extended family and support you in this journey?
Okay, so as our main hub, our website, which we're super proud about, we have
Sure. And by the way, it'll be in the show notes for the audience sake, so you won't have
oh
to write it down.
awesome.
But keep going,
We
please go
have an
ahead.
area where people can sign up to become members, and these members will be able to get newsletters, announcements for events, and places to sign up for these events through email. So, signing up with us on our website, you'll be able to receive all of those opportunities that we'll be giving along the way. We also have our Discord server where members can join and talk to each other, um, you know, share their work, not only coding, even arts, music, anything like that, just to help us build our community a little bit more. Sometimes we have movie watching. Our most recent movie we watched was actually Hidden Figures, which was very on brand for
Oh,
us.
there you go.
We also have an opportunity for those with coding experience to volunteer with us and help us teach coding, plan lessons, monitor courses, who all get hours for the work that they put in. And for leadership opportunities, we have a board application open at the moment. Our roles that are open are video editors, blog writers, and director of art. And lastly of all, our chapter president position if you wanted to start a new chapter in another area. So these are all ways that our audience can become involved in Girls Code It.
Yeah, I love it. So audience, this is my call to action to you. If you are not a member of this organization, do it. Because they need our support, and I think we need their growth. If you can donate, do it. Because these ladies are changing the world, and we want to be part of that change. I'm curious on the chapter piece. You probably started out with a centralized
Mhm.
chapter. Have you grown to numerous chapters in the last year? What does that look like for
Yeah,
you and the
so we
team?
actually have a few chapters up right now on our website as well if you wanted to check them out or sign up to become members in a
Okay.
community that is more local to you. So at the moment we have a chapter in India, a chapter in Houston, Texas, a Toronto chapter in Canada, and a chapter in Montgomery County and Maryland.
Oh, wow. So you've got East Coast, West Coast, across the world in India, and then to our northern neighbor in
Mhm.
Canada. Wow. That is just super impressive. So again, audience, I'm going to say this twice. Become a member, donate if you can. It sounds like there's board memberships available if you want to help the team that way. But please, 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 this is your call to action to get involved with the team. Um, I think our podcast, Christine, is coming a little bit to an end. So I really want to switch back to the personal side I know you're early on your journey, but you've accomplished
Mhm.
so much, and I'm so incredibly humbled to have you here and impressed with all the things that you've accomplished. What would be your advice for our audience members? So, what have you learned in starting up Girls Code It that you think would be helpful, or what have you learned about coding and going into a STEM field? What advice would you have for our
I actually
audience?
have quite a bit of advice from what I've experienced.
All right, let's hear
So the
it.
first thing that I would suggest is while making Girls Code It, obviously we had our goal in mind, but we wanted to make sure to start any way we can. So if you have, this applies for everything, not just STEM related, but if you have a goal, start as slow as you want and just make sure to continue to make progress, because any small step you take towards your goal is still something that should be recognized, and you should be able to look back on the progress you've made and be proud of it. So it's very important to recognize the journey as well as the destination that you are trying to reach. Another thing I want to say.
All I can say, Christina, is amen. And audience, you need to write that one down. Whatever that big lofty goal is, don't let it scare you. Just take one little step at a time. It'll get you there. Yeah, I love that one, Christina. Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hit me with number two.
So back to my little imagery of a person walking towards their goal is it's not going to be a smooth path like on the countryside. It's probably going to be a little rocky. You might hit a few roadblocks, but that doesn't mean
Mm.
you have to stop there. For a roadblock, what I've learned is that you can either overcome it, you can walk over it, or you can go around, because you know a roadblock is not going to extend to the far reaches of the earth. There's always going to be a way around it. So either you take a breather, look at the roadblock, see if there's, maybe I can go above it, maybe I can go around. Just make sure that a roadblock doesn't stop you from your journey. There's always going to be a way around it, and everyone, even the most skilled coders, will reach a roadblock in their lives. So don't think of yourself as a failure just because you're finding something a little bit more difficult. Just remember that it's something you can get past.
Yep. And I would also say the other thing that I've learned from you today is if you can't personally get over it, there's somebody that can help you get
Hmm.
over it. So there's that community that you and the team are building. And I'm sure if you run into a personal roadblock, a coding roadblock, as you go through school, a school roadblock, you're going to grab them and say, "Here,
Yeah,
help
for
me."
sure. If
Yep.
you can't get past something, your friends could help you, maybe lift you above it.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Love that one too. Do you have a third one for our audience?
I kind of mentioned it in the past one, but it's
Okay.
just to take a breather whenever you need it, because you
Mm.
don't want to consistently sprint towards a goal. Even a long hike, even if you're walking at a snail's pace, if you're going for too long without food or water, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to drain yourself out. So treat yourself and reward yourself for the work that you've already done, because your body needs it, your brain needs it, your mental health and emotional health. It's all going to need a break at some point. So if you have a goal that is very long term, don't forget to take a break and also self reflect and treat yourself.
Yeah, maybe I missed that one earlier, but I think Christina, that is so powerful. Through the pandemic and all that we've all experienced over the last year, and the burnout
Hmm.
is real. For many of us, the change fatigue is real, and you really, I'm a big fan, as my listeners know, of Brene Brown, and she's really, if you can't love, and be compassionate towards yourself, you can't be love and compassionate
Hmm.
toward others. So you have to take care of yourself on your own journey so that you can expand that love and compassion to those around you, those in your workplace, in your school, and then those that you're trying to help out in the community. So, really, Christine, that is really super powerful. I think that you're an old soul already in your life. I am really just super impressed with what you and the Girls Code It team are doing. It is just fabulous. Just to make sure I didn't miss anything else you'd like to share about the organization, your fellow team members, anything before we close the podcast?
I just want to say for
Just to make sure I
my
didn't miss
fellow team
anything.
members is that I'm very proud of you, and I'm very grateful for everyone who's been able to help Girls Code It, whether you're a team member, a board member, or a volunteer. I think that none of this could have happened without the support we get from both our team and the members who are consistently using our services, our volunteers who are helping to teach the course. They're all really amazing people and should be treated as someone who is amazing because they are.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and
So I love that, Christina. We're ending on a note of gratitude.
and also
Yep.
for the more about Girls Code It side, we have our Instagram and our YouTube channel where we post posters
Yep.
for general knowledge on coding, our next events. YouTube, we have videos of our panels and our lessons that anyone could watch and review. And our donation link in our website, of course. And if you wanted to sign up, everything can be reached
Yep.
through our website. And I also wanted to thank you guys for helping us Girls Code It and having us on the podcast. I think this is an amazing opportunity for us, and it was really nice to be able to talk about Girls Code It and our journey.
Absolutely, Christina. We are absolutely honored. And just for the audience, as I mentioned earlier, the website will be in the show notes. Christina, do you want to talk about what your social media handles are? It was a good reminder to me. We always try to wrap
Oh
up with that. So I think you mentioned Instagram, what your social media handles
yeah.
are?
So Girls Code It social media handle is at Girls Code It PV, and we also have different social media
Okay.
handles for our different chapters that you can also check out.
Okay.
Personally,
And is that on your website,
yep,
Christina?
it's
Is that
also on the
right?
website as well.
Yep. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
And if you wanted to reach out to
All right.
Girls Code It through email, it would be team@girlscodeit.org.
All right. So guys, you heard that. Please go to the Girls Code It website, reach out to the team, get involved, let them feel your support no matter where you are in the world. I think we learned that today. And Christina, best of luck. I know you're going to do amazing things, and I look forward to staying connected with you. So everyone, this wraps up another episode of the Empowering Women podcast. Hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you again in June. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.